The U.S. was not alone today in ousting Russian diplomats. Similar decisions were made today by other nations led by the United Kingdom, where the former double agent was poisoned by a nerve agent.
Today, 18 countries have announced their intention to expel more than 100 Russian intelligence officers from their countries. This includes 15 EU member states, as well as the United States, Canada, and the Ukraine. And this is the largest collective expulsion of Russian intelligence officers in history.
This and what impact this move will have on Moscow is Andrij Dobriansky with the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. Welcome. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
President Trump has expelled 60 Russian diplomats. Apparently, a fair number of them are identified as intelligence operatives. What impact will that have, first off, on Russia's ability to operate in the United States?
In terms of the United States, it probably won't hamper them too much, so they have an effective system around the world. However, the key about today is the unprecedented nature of that many countries at the same day expelling that many diplomats.
What's the impact going to be in Russia? Is Vladimir Putin even going to feel this?
No, he won't change anything. We will expect him to do a tit for tat, some kind of response. However, this is not going to stop him in any way. We're not targeting his money. We're not targeting the people around him in any way severely. This is an action that needed to happen. Again, it's unprecedented that so many people, so many countries on one day expelled that many diplomats, but this will certainly not stop Putin in the short term.
Given the nature of the crime that was committed in the UK, where the poisoning by nerve agent, a nerve agent which is believed to have come from Russia, though ways and means are not yet clear, of this former double agent and his daughter, who may just have been an accidental standby victim, if you will, plus a police officer, it has to be said.
As well as the 40 people who seem to have been affected by it. So,
others who may have shown other symptoms. Was there any choice, do you think, for the United States, for the United Kingdom, for their allies to act?
Absolutely not. Again, the line of war has been changing. NATO is an alliance of people, a collective defensive alliance. It has been challenged in several ways over the last decade that has not been they have not responded to, notably the cyber attack on Estonia in the early 2000s, leading on to several different small attacks, whether it's cyber attacks, whether it's incidents like this. So the delineation of what exactly is an attack on the alliance needs to be now re-examined. But certainly the alliance could not let this go without a response, and all alliance countries have now responded.
Well, in addition to this, we also have the revelation that Guccifer 2.0, which was responsible for the hacking of the Democratic National Committee, has now been revealed to actually be an agent within the Russian military intelligence system. And that's been revealed because at one point, apparently, he forgot to turn on a VPN. And left behind an IP address on a computer server in France. So we're learning more and more about Russian attempts to hack into systems, to hack into companies, to cause disruption. As that lead to Guccifer 2.0 solidifies, what additional action do you think the U.S. could take?
What's missing from the actions against Russia for the past several years, as it has flouted international norms, the UN Charter, a number of other bilateral treaties, is the fact that we haven't attacked it, or we haven't treated it as a rogue state. It is a rogue state in line with Iran or North Korea, a dangerous state, in possession of the largest number of nuclear warheads around the world, and yet we have not acted on it as we have those countries I've mentioned before. We have enacted targeted sanctions, but not sectoral sanctions. There's only one bank that was targeted by the United States in the end of Obama's term, and that was the 26th largest bank in Russia. So clearly not something that will affect Putin's pocketbook or his friend's pocketbook.
So when you say sectoral sanctions, you're talking about oil and gas as an example.
I'm talking about cutting them off from the world financial system, shutting off the SWIFT system for Russia, as well as dealing with the natural gas issue that they are controlling over the rest of Europe. Denmark, in the next couple of weeks, now has an opportunity to veto the valuable Nord Stream 2 project because it's crossing through its territorial waters. Denmark might have now a voice to say if Russia will continue using its gas as a means of leverage over all of Europe.
No, we see obviously this contradiction between the expulsion today of these 60 diplomats based in the United States, President Trump's call last week with President Putin, where he congratulated him on his re-election, an election that is seen by many to have been not up to the standards of a democratic election, failed to mention the poisoning of the double agent. There's two things going on here. What's American policy towards Russia?
Well, one thing that hasn't changed in America, where the presidential administration has changed, Congress really hasn't changed. Right. And from the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine in 2014, there have been 5 consecutive major pieces of bipartisan legislation passed in terms of sanctioning Russia, in terms of targeting Russia, whether it's Russian propaganda, Russian sanctions. So Congress really has come together in a bipartisan way, in a way that it hasn't come around on any other issue. So no matter what comes out of the White House, whether it's a response by the Obama administration, which did not come soon enough or strong enough, whether it's the Trump administration, which seems to have one line coming from the president and then everybody around him in the cabinet saying other things. One thing that is solid is the fact that United States legislation has not been more united than on this issue throughout the last 4 years.
Do you believe that Russia will just continue to push to see how much it can get away with?
That is Putin's MO, seeing an opening and snatching it. When nothing happened after the invasion of Georgia, he decided to try his hand with Ukraine. It will keep on doing this. There's now 11 active conflict zones that Russia is involved in around its own periphery. So that's something that needs to be addressed in some way. But so long as it's not being addressed, he will still try to do other things.
The complication here is that there are places where the U.S. and its allies need Russia. They need Russian help. They need Russian help in North Korea. They need Russian help in Syria in order to get an end or some kind of resolution to that conflict. The Russians have got to be on the same page as everyone else. If on one hand you've got sanctions, you've got expulsions, you've got a sort of a diminution of diplomatic ties, doesn't it make all of that much harder to achieve?
So I mentioned Vladimir Putin's MO earlier of trying to do things when he is not punished. However, the other part of his MO that's very well known is the fact he likes to cause problems in order for him to be the solution to those problems. So when you mention the need to have Russia as a collaborator in making the solution in Syria, the people of Eastern Ghouta or other Syrians who are being bombed mercilessly by Russian forces, that's something that I would say Russia is the part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Thanks so much for being with us. Thank you.